The island of Oninoshima has been taken over by lawless chaos, following the sudden gold rush caused by the finale of last season. But now it seems that a new threat is on the way from a galaxy far, far away. And with the storytelling of this season being all over the place, I'm sure there's a lot of confusion as to what exactly has been going on recently. Well, I'm here now to explain everything you need to know, so sit back and let's dive right into the full story of Fortnite Chapter 6 Season 2. So this season picked up not long after Daigo fought Shogun X. He survived this encounter but had gone into hiding, though we would later find out this was all part of Daigo's true plan, and it had something to do with the ruinous mask of power that was once on display in his shop. On top of that, Daigo's magic he used on the Spirit Realm portal has somehow caused a gold rush to take over a portion of Oninoshima, which has also caught the attention of our new villain, the Baron, also known as Fletcher Kane, who immediately took control over the gold areas of the island as a means to increase his own wealth and power. Kane is also the owner of the company known as Alpha, who has been mining as much of this gold as possible, while also setting up banks to store the gold and for some reason taxing the citizens of Oninoshima. Man, I already gotta pay enough taxes in real life. What do you mean the Fortnite furry is taxing me as well? But Kane's actions have also brought more crime to the island, as many criminals are now trying to get their hands on some of the island's newfound riches. The words of Kane's new power moves have also attracted the attention of Fortnite's most famous anti-hero, Midas, who has by some mysterious means arrived on Oninoshima, where he has his own plans to take down Fletcher Kane. But we'll get to Midas' story later in this video, as he's not just here to take down his furry acquaintance. First, I want to quickly recap what's going on with our characters from last season, as Fortnite finally remembered what continuity is and brought back our heroes for another season. So in this current season, Hope, Jones, Kendo, and the now rescued Jade are now frantically trying to figure out a way to get the 0-point shard out of the Spirit Realm, so that the dark presence inside we have been warned about can't use it for some nefarious purpose. The problem is they currently have no idea how they can enter the Spirit Realm, since only Oni can enter, but this has led them to getting the help of an unlikely ally, one of the main villains from last season, the Night Rose, who has now been freed from the binds of Shogun X's curse. The issue is, while she is extremely grateful for her freedom, her mind seems a bit scattered at the moment, so while the Night Rose is willing to help out the heroes, she needs a bit of time to readjust to a free life, which is why for now she has been hanging out with Jones over at Demon's Dojo, giving him information, though it would seem she is also leaving out some details. If you choose to ask her more questions, the Night Rose tells us she senses a growing darkness at the heart of this island, but she also believes that because she's a demon, no one will actually believe her. And unfortunately, this is just a cliffhanger for the time being, so let's move on from our centuries-old characters and catch up with our other heroes. Jade, who was rescued at the end of last season by her older brother Daigo, has found her purpose through her traumatic experience, and that is to protect Oninoshima, as she's grown an even deeper connection to this island and its magic. Though this hasn't stopped her from also worrying about Daigo, and those feelings are shared with her younger brother Kendo, who senses Daigo is getting himself into more trouble. And he would later be proven right, but we'll get to that later in the video. As for now, I want to highlight Kendo's advancing relationship with Hope, as it would seem that both characters are developing a deep trust and likely romantic feelings for one another, which is also turning Jones into a concerned father for Hope. And not gonna lie, this is the best dynamic Epic has done with their characters in a minute, and I hope to see more of it throughout the chapter. But we know about this as when you ask Kendo about Hope, he talks about how relaxed he feels around her, how much they get each other, and how he has her back and hopes she feels the same about him. And if you ask Hope about Kendo, she confirms she does and shares how she really feels about him. Honestly, it's all quite wholesome, which I think is a good note to leave this section on. But we'll see some of these characters again towards the end of the video. Now it's time to get into the story of Fletcher Kane and the Outlaws this season. or what's actually worth mentioning. So, a big issue I feel needs addressed with the storytelling this season is that most of the story quest lines for the various characters just don't hold any significance in the overall story. Like, most of them go as follows: meet this generic new outlaw character, go do a crime, enjoy your XP. Truthfully, none of these characters matter in the grand scheme of the story either, which is why they were all so one note. I mean, what? We had Possum, Midas Simp, quirky anime scientist, Batgirl from Wish, and hot biker lady. Like, would you believe me if I told you the only character that was introduced this season besides Kane that has any plot significance is the Pickle? Yes, the wannabe SoundCloud rapper that stole T-Pain's beats and is actively pulling a crypto rug pull scam was the most important new character. I'll explain why in a bit, but let's just talk about Midas for now. As I established earlier in the video, Fletcher Kane has been making some power moves which got the attention of Midas, as the two are old acquaintances. When asking Midas about Fletcher, he tells us that even when he had nothing, he thought the world belonged to him. But Midas has always been a step ahead of Kane, which he assumes the wolf has taken personally over the years. But as I said earlier in the video, Midas didn't make the trip to this new island just to take down Kane. Speaking of, how did Midas even get here? Funny enough, even the in-game characters can't figure out exactly how he got here after being freed from the underworld in Chapter 5. Honestly, I think Restro had a good theory in his video that Midas used an old rift device just like the one we used to see Jones use back in Chapter 2 that Midas has had on him since his time as an Imagined Order agent, and personally, I do think this is probably the safest bet. But just to play devil's advocate a bit, the other possibility is that his daughter Jules is the greatest inventor in Fortnite's universe, so if anyone could make a rift gate in the bottom of that boat, it would be her. The only issue is this dumbass decided to once again ruin his relationship with his daughter. Nice going, Midas. Honestly, just wanted to roast him a bit for this. But now that Midas is on the island, he's got his own plans, which we find out about through his storyline quests this season, aka the only ones that matter this season. But during these, Midas had the Looper complete one of his shadow briefings in order to earn his trust. Once he began trusting the Looper, he tasked them to help him bribe the Outlaws with gold so that they would help him get Kane out of the way of his true plan. As it would turn out, both Midas and Kane are also after the 0-point shard, which we found out about after completing this quest for Midas, where he was investigating leftover rift energy left by the shard. But his interest didn't end there, as he also had the Looper steal one of Daigo's mask-making books to get a better understanding of his new foe. So now there's a race to get the shard, and unlikely alliances are being formed. Midas knows he'll likely need some extra help this time, so as much as it pains him, he aligns himself with Hope and Jones, and in an unexpected twist, we find out thanks to the voice lines this season that Daigo has been working with the Baron this entire time.
The machine's been installed in the workshop, sir. Finally, some good news. Daigo will be pleased. I will not tolerate cowardice and insubordination. If Daigo gives you an order, you follow it. Understood? Alphatine 3.0 is on the move. But, sir, what's the mission here? Daigo gets the gold he needs, and I get the power he promised. That's all you need to know.
So now we know that these two have made a deal where Kane will provide Daigo with all of the gold he needs to enact his plan, and in exchange, Daigo will craft new masks for both Kane and his forces to increase their power. So Kendo was definitely right when saying his brother was up to something again, and at this point of the season is where the true fighting began. The island was in a state of pure chaos throughout this entire season as the Outlaws fought back against Alpha, which over time damaged Kane's wealth. And remember how I said earlier how the Pickle, aka Big Dill, was part of this story? Well, here's the funny part. So when Fletcher started losing his wealth due to the Outlaws' activities, he actually invested in Dill Bits, Big Dill's cryptocurrency, which turned out to be one giant pump dump scheme, so Fletcher's stocks absolutely tanked thanks to the Pickle rug pulling him. So yes, the downfall of Fletcher Kane all began because Fortnite's equivalent of Pickle Rick scammed the big bad wolf. Absolutely hilarious.
Sir? The mask on the wall. It's glowing. Moon above. He actually did it. Omega Squad may have located anymore. We're proceeding to the portal phase shortly. It's all over. They have no idea.
And this now brings us to the finale of this season, where it would seem that Daigo has been using the chaos happening on the island all season to his advantage, and has now fully repaired the mask of power that once caused the Shattering War, which he is now using to try to make his way into the spirit realm. Kane is also with Daigo at this time and is being tasked to keep the loopers away from him while he completes his ritual. However, it would seem Kane is not the best bodyguard, as loop after loop he is defeated and a frustrated Daigo is forced to flee. And honestly, I find it interesting to see how the loop is actually being used in the story like this. And this also gives us an idea of how Oninoshima's loop works differently than the one in Reality Zero. We already knew that this loop allows characters to still speak, but it would also seem as if they are able to keep their memories as well. It's very interesting if I'm being honest. Also, fun fact, but if you hire Kendo, Jade, or the Night Rose and bring them to confront Daigo, they'll actually yell at him. Honestly, a really nice touch. But after many failed attempts, the day finally arrives. Daigo shoots one final beam of magic up into the sky. The looper once again tries to stop his plan by defeating Kane, but this time things are different. Daigo immediately betrays Fletcher, claiming that he is the only one who can save this island, and he jumps through the portal into the spirit realm. Though I'm sure the main question now is, why has Daigo, who has seemingly been trying to save the island, been working with a villain like Kane to get into the spirit realm? Is Daigo actually a villain? Well, no. See, Daigo is easily one of the most complicated characters Fortnite has ever had in its story. Daigo has good intentions, as all he wants is to protect his home and, more importantly, his two siblings. However, Daigo is also a narcissist who believes that he is the only one who can save the island, which is why he has no problem resorting to underhanded tactics to achieve his goals. So in short, Daigo is not evil, but instead a very misguided character whose actions led to dire consequences, which we can see in the end season cinematic. In it, we see Big Dill and the Brat sneaking into Daigo's workshop to commit yet another crime. Inside, they find Daigo's mask, and when Big Dill looks through it, Daigo's fate is revealed. And it would turn out that inside the spirit realm, Daigo was overwhelmed by the dark presence and has now become corrupted. It is then revealed that Daigo has become the very thing he swore to destroy, a demon, who then likely immediately killed Big Dill and the Brat. Good riddance. So, in the end, Daigo should have listened to the warnings he was given, and now he's stuck as a demon wandering the island. But one question this season still remains. What's going on with Midas? He hasn't succeeded yet, and the shard is still in the spirit realm. Hopefully he sticks around for a little longer. But on the bright side, we did get a cool plot twist this season, where it's now been revealed that Midas is secretly working with the fallen society leader Montague. So nice to see the Chapter 5 villains haven't been completely forgotten. But in conclusion, so while this story was definitely a lot of filler, it has set up a couple of cool plots for future seasons. You know, after our heroes deal with this nonsense.